Welcome back to the Nearly Enlightened podcast. I am your host, Giana, and today I'm joined in person by my very good friend, Kat Parks. And we're here in the beautiful Be Easy Wellness Studio, owned by her and her husband, Dr. Ryan. Welcome, Kat.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Welcome.
Well, I guess I should be happy that you are here.
Yeah, it's true.
A little bit of both. I'm happy to be here on your podcast. I'm happy that you're here on my couch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so nice. I have yellow pillows too, so it doesn't look that different.
I love it. That's precious.
So Kat is a yoga teacher with over 300 hours of yoga teacher training experience, and she is also a face yoga method practitioner, which is super awesome. So quickly, I don't want the whole episode to be about this, but just tell us what face yoga is.
Face yoga is amazing. So face yoga method is this methodology that's been around for 17 years. And it's different poses and exercises that we do intentionally that can help us to reduce and eliminate fine lines and wrinkles on the face, create symmetry, maybe between our eyebrows or the way that we smile, and ultimately just give us more confidence and more awareness in how we move our faces, how we live our lives, and keep us away from needles and pokey things and chemicals and poisons that folks seem to be kind of obsessed with. But you know what, y'all, we don't need it.
That is okay. So I, when I do my solo podcast, I always talk about hot takes and unpopular opinions.
Yes.
And I feel like this is one of them because so I have done Botox in the past. I will be completely transparent about that. I was probably about 20. Yeah, probably about 20. I know.
That's so young.
I know. And to just not knowing what any of those things really are. And after working at a med spa, I know that the inserts for those injections are literally pages and pages long. So I did it because I wanted an upper lip. So that was when the lip flip became popular. Oh, yeah. And I know that when we do the face yoga stuff, that's an area of focus for me is around the mouth.
For sure. Yeah. So my hot take is
No
let's
Botox.
stop doing Botox because you know what?
And fillers.
Let's just learn how to age gracefully. And this is part of face yoga is that, you and I are in our 30s. We're never going to look 20 again. That's the thing. I know it kind of hurts my heart a little bit too, but you could look maybe like you're in your 20s, but you can't completely reverse time. And that's the thing is that we're still going to age. Our bones still move. Our skin still moves. Everything is different as we get older. And we can either learn how to accept that or, try to constantly search for this fountain of youth in a needle. And
there's no quick fix in healing.
There's really no. And so that would be my hot take is that people do far too much Botox and fillers. It's starting way too early. Thinking about you getting 20. Botox at 20 is crazy. That's crazy. But it's this is a thing. And
now it's it's pretty much the norm.
Yeah, to start in your 20s so that you can catch it and catch your age before it catches you.
Oh.
And that's kind of I feel similarly with face yoga in that the more I practice or the sooner I start practicing the better, because every day that I sleep on my side, my little line between my eyebrows gets one day deeper.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So
I'm a side sleeper too. So
I mean, who's not? It feels so good, but what happens when you side sleep? Squish.
And so the thing about Botox and fillers, and a nurse practitioner actually who was an injector would say this all the time, you're not going to look younger, you're going to look your age, just minus the wrinkles. And just that whole concept is kind of ick. It gives you ick.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is that when you freeze those muscles, you then can't use those muscles, but we use those muscles to make facial expressions at each other. You know, how do you know that I'm engaged with what you're saying if I'm not lifting my eyebrows or giving you a query or opening my eyes wide? It's this is how we communicate as humans. So if I'm just looking at you like this,
don't they?
I can't even do it.
But so many people look like that now, and like,
It makes the rest of us feel bad about ourselves.
and filter life, like that is another one. And I always use, like, if I pop on Instagram story or Instagram live, like I always put a filter on, and it's like, why? Like, why?
Yeah. Which one do you use?
All of them.
All of them. I like
have
to
like
go
sparkly ones. I
one
have
slide is takes you to Paris, and I feel like that one just makes you like it smooths everything out and makes everything like a little bit lighter, and I do use that one sometimes. But I should say that maybe filter life is like not where we should be going,
yeah,
because it is like, you know, it is up to people like us to show that like this is what humans look like. This is what people and women in their 30s look like. And okay, I've got some freckles, I've got some sun damage, I got a laser facial the other day and there's a red spot here, and like let that just be okay. Like, you
mic
know,
drop. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
gonna sit with that for a second.
Yes, you know, we've all got crow's feet and stuff. It just means that we've been smiling. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
You know, and I really have to say, over the summer, Kat did these little mini series for each section of the face. And I have to say, I loved those. It like this summer was like the best summer of my life, but that really, like, starting my days with face yoga and like having our weekly meetings, I freaking loved
I
that.
loved that too. Yeah, got to bring those back on my 4-week reboot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Maybe
And
we can
just
start in January.
having the community and the accountability of like doing it together. And one of my other best friends, Nikki, she was in on it too, so it was like really awesome to have a buddy to be like, oh, did you do your face yoga today? Like, even
Yes.
outside of the group, like, I liked that.
Yes, it's the accountability, and I'm gonna tangent us into something else.
Yeah, yeah,
Concept of like practicing what you preach.
yeah.
Slash, my favorite yoga quote is "Practice makes practicing easier."
I've mentioned that on this podcast before.
Excellent.
And quoted
So
you. Yeah,
the thing about face yoga and about anything is that it's one thing to know it. You have to also do it.
yeah, hell
And
yeah.
so I get stuck in the doing it part sometimes. And that's why I started these reboots, was because I went probably like 2 months without doing any of my own face yoga practice. And, you know, I had banked up a good portion of months with my face yoga practice. I don't think it really changed too much, but I did see some things starting to come back, some asymmetry making itself more asymmetrical, some deeper lines, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, I need the accountability. So I need some way that I can pop in every day and say, hey, did you guys do your face yoga practice? Because I did. And that was really helpful for me. Sorry, I just kicked this back. It's helpful to have that accountability, because otherwise I think it's easy to not do the things that we know how to do.
Yeah.
Just like we know that it's good to meditate every day. How many of us meditate every day? Not me. You know, how many of us
depends on the time of year.
drink enough water, get movement in, even if that movement is a 10-minute walk after your meals? Like, how many of us do those things?
Okay, so I love something that you said on the form, is that yoga doesn't have to be for exercise.
Yes.
And that's like, yeah, like, you know, I never thought about that before, but it's so true. And it's like the physical practice is kind of like the gateway that gets most of us in the door, but it's the other practices that really sustain us through. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, that's another one of my hot takes. And I feel like, I don't know if it is like Phoenix yoga specific, you know, because I do yoga in this area and have for the last, what, 3 years we've lived here. And I don't know if it is just our area or if it's like this throughout the country, the world. Just that people kind of take yoga to this like hardcore chaturanga
Like
boot camp thing.
Yeah.
And I just don't vibe with that. I was just talking with one of Dr. Ryan's patients today about how we do way too many chaturangas. She has 2 torn rotator cuffs. And
you see that in yoga so much.
And then people are like, oh, why do my shoulders hurt? I do yoga all the time.
Like,
well,
your
it's
shoulders
because you're doing 100 chaturangas in an hour. Of course your shoulders are going to hurt.
So I actually have a post on this on TikTok and Instagram about like a chaturanga alternative.
Mm,
And it was a super popular post. And I think that's a message that a lot of people need to hear is like, you can go to
yes.
these power classes and skip the chaturanga. And like, it feels really weird in the moment. And I know we've kind of like experimented with this before because there are two studios that we go to that's hard on the chaturangas. And we've played around with just not doing them.
Oh yeah. I've been teaching at a studio for the last like year and a half or so. And every class I teach, my first time that we go to like, maybe it could be a chaturanga, I just have them hold plank. And I specifically say you can hang out in plank, you can press back to down dog, or you can take chaturanga. And most people do take that first one, but then I'll always say, like, you can skip that anytime in my class or anyone else's class. And maybe no one's given you permission to skip that in someone else's class. But and, I mean, you don't need permission to do anything in a yoga class or anything with your life. But I think some people feel like they need that permission. And I feel like it's important for us to kind of flow with our own bodies and do what feels right. And sometimes that's not doing a million chaturangas. Or when I sequence my classes, I specifically will make flows where we don't even do it. It's just like a
Yeah, I love
continuous
that.
keep on going, which is, I don't know, more fun for the brain.
Yeah, it is because it changes it up. And like, I mean, there are only so many poses. So there's
Yes.
only so many ways you can configure those poses. So that is nice. It's a nice brain break.
Yeah. Love it. Hot takes with Kat and Giana. I love
Yeah,
it.
I have plenty of
I know
them.
what
So,
we both do. I could make a new podcast, Hot Takes with Giana and Kat.
oh my God, let's do it. I love that. Or this could be like a monthly segment that we need
Yes,
to
I
get
love that.
together
We
and
just
talk about unpopular
be
opinions.
rude. Uh-huh. I love it.
So the other thing that I really want to talk about is you had a post, I guess it was a couple weeks ago now, and it was a series of posts talking about unconditional love. And I think that it is now coming up on the holidays, like people spend more time with family and friends. There's a lot of social interactions. And actually, it can, this time of year, I read a statistic yesterday that said 38% of people report that they feel more stressed during this time of year. And like, that's not the way it's supposed to be.
A lot.
And I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand with this idea of unconditional love, because if we held unconditional love for people, we would have more compassion when they kind of meet us with things that we don't necessarily agree with.
Very much so.
Right?
Very much so. And that so much of it is easier said than done. I
Yeah.
think, especially with family dynamics. And that was another, it's funny to have this podcast with you after having a whole day of talking to Dr. Ryan's patients, because that was another thing that I talked about with someone is a lot of folks have told me about their Thanksgiving plans. And when they say that they're meeting with their family, it's like they're defeated. Like, oh, I'm going to see my mother-in-law. And it's like, oh, this whole shitty thing to like spend time with your family versus the people who are like, oh yeah, I'm going to go hang out with my pals. And it's like this happy, joyful Thanksgiving. And so it's like, why, first of all, why are we putting ourselves in these situations where we're like actively not looking forward to something?
Yeah, that I think that's like the biggest thing.
That
And
feels weird.
yeah, and for me, like, not that I can't relate to this, but I have a really weird relationship with my family. It's like we're super close. And
Yeah.
like all of my cousins, we like grew up like brothers and sisters. And I have a group of cousins that we're so close, we like pretty much talk every day still.
That's
And like
precious.
when I'm home, we hang out all the time. So like, not that I can't relate, like I get it, but it's kind of sad.
It is sad, and I think that maybe that's an opportunity for people like you and I to be more grateful for the families that we have, because we don't have those kinds of dynamics. I have been in Thanksgivings that are
Yeah,
uncomfortable,
same.
and you're like, oh God, you can
Get me
like
out of
cut
here.
the tension with a butter knife. Yeah, those are awful. But yeah, just kind of an interesting thing that just because it's like a family holiday, then people feel like they have to do something with their
Yeah.
family, their blood family. I guess that could kind of be one of my hot takes. But this unconditional love thing, I think, is so, so important to give people the grace of being where they are. And I think that
Yes.
that has flown out the window, um, definitely over the last 2.5 years. But I'd say even over the last 5, 6 years, I don't know, I feel like whether it's political or social media stuff, whatever people believe in, what people do, what people don't do, it's like all of those are reasons you can hate someone. And I think that that's really sad that we take what people do and what they think and what they say and turn it into
An attack on me.
yes, because
I
it's
totally
not.
agree. Yep. I totally agree. And I know we've talked about this before, and I've talked about it before on the podcast. Like, recently just had a friend break up, and it was like over this reason of like, okay, we have different opinions and views. And because of that, we can't be friends anymore. And that is so heartbreaking to me, because I think that progress really comes from having tough conversations. And like, if everyone agreed, like, it would be such a fucking boring world.
Oh God, yeah,
Like,
for sure.
it would be so boring. And like, I don't want my friends to have the same exact views as me. Like, I enjoy the variation and like hearing other people's takes. And like, yes, it might trigger me in the moment, and like maybe even for more than a moment. And like, have to sit with that. But like, at the end of the day, like, I would rather have a tough conversation than lose a friend. And I think it goes right back to this unconditional love conversation.
Yeah. Well, I remember you telling me about that experience that you had, and it was not long after I also went through
Yep.
two big friend breakups.
I think it's something that everyone deals with. It's very relatable.
For sure. And whether it's, in a natural, organic, oh, we just haven't talked to each other in a while, and then that while turns into a few years, and then I guess you're not friends anymore. Or in the case of what happened to me this year, my best friend of 16 years sent me a postcard, an unsigned all caps postcard saying, I don't want to be your friend anymore or something. And it was horrible and mean. And like you were just saying, like, why not have these tough conversations?
Even if the friendship ends after that, like, I think it's important to yeah, have those tough conversations. And like,
why? Give me a why.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. It's weird.
But not all people are like us.
Yeah, true.
So I went through this experience of not hearing from my best friend, literally my best friend since college. Didn't hear from him for like months. And I sent texts, sent email, I finally sent a letter. And the letter wasn't like mean or anything. It was just like, hey, pal, what's up? This is what's going on in my life. What's going on in your life? I wrote it in colored pens, and it was like this like whole cheesy adorableness, to then get back a postcard that, at any point in time, he could have answered the phone and said, hey, I don't like that you're blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I'm in this blah, blah, blah. And I can't be friends with you right now. But instead, it had to be this thing where he didn't tell me what was going on. And it came seemingly out of left field. I still have no idea what's going on. I got that postcard in March. And to bring it back into this unconditional love thing, I cried in the parking lot of the post office for like 45 minutes and called.
It's a grief. You go through grief.
Yes. And I called anyone I could think of just to like try to talk my way through it.
I did the same.
And it's like, but it doesn't help,
No.
Because it's like, it's just something that you have to go through.
It's a grief process.
It really is, and to me, it feels very much like he's dead. That person is dead to me. Not in the way that I don't love him anymore. And that's, I think, a place where we could all, let me choose the right words. I don't want to say be better, because I'm not trying to qualify myself as being better.
But I think what you said before is like meeting people with grace. And like, I think it comes back to that, and like meeting ourselves with grace, which is the hardest thing to do.
Very much so.
And then meeting that other person with grace, which is also hard to do when you like don't really agree with their decision.
Yeah. But that doesn't even matter.
Yeah, no.
And that's the thing, is finding that place where that doesn't even matter, because I could say it in this mean way, he's dead to me. Or it could say, yeah, it literally feels like that person who was my best friend is dead. He doesn't exist anymore, because that person that was my best friend wouldn't break up with me via a postcard. So the person who did that is alive and well. And I feel really sad for him, because clearly he's going through some tough shit to even consider sending a friend a postcard like that. Like, that's insane. So to me, I just feel like so much compassion and love for like whatever horrible crap he's going through, that you could push away someone who cares about you that much. And so to me, rather than being like sad for myself and like, oh, I lost a friend, I'm sad for him. I'm sad that this person doesn't know how great he is. I'm sad for this person that he doesn't understand what a great friendship we had. I feel like there's something clearly missing from his life. And I really hope that he finds it. I really do. And when I think back on our 16 years together, I think back on it with a smile, because we had adventures and we had fun and we went on journeys and we took trips, and he was in my wedding and he lived with me, and like it was a whole thing. And I can't let an unsigned postcard ruin 16 years of joy.
That's really powerful.
You can't. Just like you can't let, I don't know, your mom saying you should have done blah, 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 ruin the fact that you came out of her, like we can't just take these things so personally. And again, it's so much easier said than done. I wasn't filled with any like hate or rage for this friend of mine. But to be able to talk about it here with you and like not cry, that has taken me 6 months of talking about it with a lot of people and finding that peace in knowing that I didn't do anything wrong. I have gone through every conversation we've ever had in my brain trying to figure out what I did do wrong. I still don't think it's anything. And if it is, I'm color me surprised.
Yeah. And like that was what it was for me. It was like, if I fucked up or if I did something rude or hurtful, like tell me about it so I could apologize and do better.
Yes. Yes. And that was the second friend that I had break up with me, was via a text. It was one text that then turned into a series of like 10 texts that were attacking my character. And it was honestly really funny. Like the first one I got, Giana literally said, you need to look up this personality disorder because you have a mental illness. And I'm like, bro, anyone who texts you saying, look up this personality disorder because you're mentally ill is fucking mentally ill.
Yeah, like, that like relationships are mirrors, and like maybe you should look in here.
So that one definitely brought up a lot more hate and rage in me because it was so mean. The postcard was like, oh, I don't want to be friends anymore. Don't reach out to me. And then this one was like, you are a horrible person, and everyone you meet knows it. And I'm like, do this because I kind of have made like a lot of really awesome friends in the last few years. So, but with that one, I mean, the same thing, it really hurt me and had me questioning my reality. I literally was like, wait, am I mentally ill? Am I in an institution? Like, has this life really happened? Am I married? Is this my house? Like, am I just like sitting in a wheelchair hallucinating?
That'd be wild.
I mean, it could be. Never know. I still don't know. But for that one, it really did take a lot of focused work to find compassion for that person. And I shared the experience with another mutual friend, someone who that person's not friends with anymore either, and kind of found out that the person who sent me the text has this warped reality or version of reality that he's living in, and kind of hates everyone who's not living in that reality. So that's fine. I can't fit into wherever he's living right now, and nor do I want to, because it sounds painful.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Yeah.
So for somebody who's listening or watching, what would be your advice if they are having trouble finding that space of unconditional love? Yeah, that's a big
That is a
question.
big question. I'm going to bring it back to what I said, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes ago. Practice makes practicing easier. Think
Yes, because unconditional love is a
it's a
practice. Yeah,
practice, yo.
100%.
And I I'm not sitting here on this couch with you saying that I've always been a loving person. I just love everyone who's ever been in my life. Hell no. Like
No, it's
I
like why we do this work is because like
yes.
we were actively shitty at it.
Yes, like actively a horrible person in high school, and like yeah, can very much describe my past self as a bitch. So
Same.
that was me, and now I'm this. And maybe some people could still describe me as a bitch, but
Yeah.
that's fine. I
Yeah.
don't.
Like that's something that I had to come to terms with. And I talked about it on my last podcast. It's like the hardest part of that journey was self-forgiveness. Because I was such a bitch. And like in
Yeah.
some people's story, I was the villain. And
Yes.
like now that I'm actively continuing doing this healing work, it's like it's kind of hard to look at because it's like a scary movie. Like you're
Yes. Oh
looking
my
behind your
God.
eyes, you're like, oh my God, I can't, like, I'm mortified. I can't believe that was
Like I
me.
wouldn't even tell you some of the stories of like things that happened in high school that I my cheeks are getting hot just thinking about it. Um, but
Lord forgive me. Lord forgive me.
Cat, forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, it's okay. High school was a long time ago.
And so many people like go through that too. Like again, like so relatable. Like we feel in these positions, like we feel like we're so alone. But I cannot
Yes.
tell you after people listen to this how many people are going to reach out to me and be like, oh fuck yeah.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing. It's a practice that no one talks about because most people in our society don't abide by unconditional love. Even within relationships or parent child relationships or friendships, it's an I love you until, or I love you
But
if, I love you, but I'll love you more when. And none of that is unconditional. And I'm not saying that everyone's perfect at unconditionally loving everyone all the time, but it is a practice. And I would say for those of you who are trying to cultivate that, practice it on other people, whether it is, say I'm on the phone with my mom and she's telling me a story that I've heard a billion times. I could be like, oh God, mom, stop telling me this story. Or I can just like listen and be like, yes, I've heard this story before. Yes. And just kind of like take in how excited she gets about it, or the way her voice sounds, or the fact that like one day I won't be able to talk to my mom. So find that love for her now. Think about a friend that you have that like maybe doesn't always make you feel great, but how can you love all the parts of them? Or a friend that you disagree with, how can you love them even though they think that way? Because I think that so much, and like I was saying before, like over these last few years, how deep we divide ourselves based on what people think about a thing or feel about a thing or vote about a thing, none of that really matters to who a person is.
whoa, hell yeah.
That's another mic
Mic
drop.
drop.
So I've got some stories to share with that one. Like you said before, I wrote this post on unconditional love. I had 5 days that I think I wrote about.
And you can send me the link and I'll link them in the
Yeah.
show
Ooh,
notes.
that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I wrote about still being able to find love for your exes, which is fun. Could talk about that for a long time. I don't have a lot of exes. I've got some exes, and we're all still pals. One of them was finding love for friends who have hurt you. One was finding love for strangers. One was people who were different than you, and one was for yourself. And this concept of finding love for strangers, I'd love to take a moment and talk about.
Yes. No, yeah, this is a good one.
Because I think that sometimes when we try to apply this unconditional love part, or this maybe loving boundlessly on people we already know, it can be challenging because we're like, yeah, I love Giana, but she's always blah, blah, blah. Not like this is anything real. I'm just using you.
We can use a real example if you want.
I don't.
I have plenty of content there.
Yes, I'm sure we do. But the thing is, like, what if we start practicing loving people that we don't know, or people that we just met? Maybe it's like the coffee shop guy or something, and it's like, oh, they always know my drink and they say hi when I walk in. And, it's just like, it's such a beautiful moment to like share energy. And it doesn't matter what that person does or what they think about or anything like that. What matters is that moment that you have that interaction and that you leave there feeling good. And I this year went to Burning Man, and this was actually what kind of inspired those unconditional love posts. Was there was a night that I had where I was just, going around everyone to my camp and professing my love for all of my campmates. And there was a moment did all that, and I was just dancing, and I had this moment where I thought to myself, like, you love all these people. Like, you don't even know these people. What is that person's last name? Like, you don't even know what that person does for a job or where they even live. And then I was like, wait, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of car that person drives, or what that person goes by, or if that person has a kid, or what kind of food that person eats, or who that person voted for. Because what matters is that their soul, and that your soul and their soul are pals. And that's what matters. And I think so often we just try
like bringing tears to my eyes.
Beautiful. Just try to like put ourselves in little boxes, like, oh, but I think this and you think that.
So we can't be friends.
And that's just limiting yourself. How gross is that? That like, what, am I only going to be friends with people who do yoga and eat healthy, but not too healthy? And, it's like, and I feel like there's something even in our sphere. I don't know what to call our sphere, but other than like new agey, maybe we're like kind of into growth and spirituality. But then we say, oh, but I don't want to talk to anyone who would ever eat at McDonald's. Or, oh, but that person believes what the government is saying. Ew. And that
person uses Botox,
or that person uses Botox, or that person doesn't even know what organic means. Who gives a shit? Literally, who cares? Let them eat cheese. Fine. I don't care, as long as they're not trying to shove cheese in my mouth. Like, get over yourself.
I eat cheese.
I mean, I eat cheese too. Don't shove it in my mouth, okay?
But no, I totally get what you're saying. Because like, so I was plant-based for six, almost 7 years. And I started eating meat again. And that was hugely triggering for people of the plant-based community.
Why?
And so many people were in my DMs like, you animal murderer. And I was like, I cannot believe this. Like, can we just get to a place where like, you eat what's best for you, I'll eat what's best for me. And like, I'm eating meat right now. That doesn't mean I'm always going to eat meat. Like, I became vegetarian because that's what worked best for my body at that time. Now I'm eating meat again because this is what's working for my body best at this time. Like, it could be something completely different in 6 months, a year. Like,
exactly.
And I think that, like, just talking about diet specifically is like, our bodies are constantly changing, and like what our bodies need to fuel us is constantly changing. Like, it's none of your fucking business what I'm eating.
And it doesn't affect you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, you had meat, whatever, yesterday for dinner. Guess how much red meat I've had in my life? Like this much cumulatively in my life. Just because I don't like meat. So fucking what? It doesn't matter. What Giana eats for dinner does not affect what happens in Kat's body or Kat's sphere. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't at all. It doesn't matter if you get your eyebrows waxed, or if you have root canals, or if you got the vaccine. None of those things matter.
Or if you didn't, because I
If you
think
did
that's
or if you
more,
didn't, it
that's
doesn't
more of the
matter.
controversial one.
Yes, I know. Well, it's who's our audience here?
I know.
I think that people in our sphere get mad at the people who have, and the people outside of our sphere get mad at the people who haven't. And it's stupid. It's not affecting you. It's like gay marriage. Okay. If you don't like gay marriage, don't get one. If you don't want an abortion, don't get one. Can we leave it at that? Can we just like let people?
This whole episode is hot takes and unpopular
hot
opinions.
takes. Yes. So my hot take, my very last hot take on the survey that I filled out for Giana was, can't we all just get along?
That's probably the most controversial one.
Yeah, because our society is like, no, let's find more ways for us not to get along. Let's keep fueling the fire of not getting along.
And I have a teacher who used to say, we're all more alike than we are different. And when she said that, I was triggered. I was like, no, we're not. We're fucking unique, and I'm unique. And like, how dare you insinuate?
I'm unique, just like everyone else.
But it's like, we kind of all do. It doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you fall on. Like, we kind of all want the same thing. Like, we want peace for our families. We want to just live in peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
Love. Acceptance. Can't we all just get along?
What a fucking concept.
I know, right? Jeez. So yeah, this has been, it's been a huge journey for me. And I think that the last few years have been so much practice in just being okay with people being different, being okay with me being different. Because once you realize that you're not like everyone else, if you're saying that I'll only accept people who are like me, then you're severely limiting yourself.
Yeah.
And
like, there goes your growth. Like, it stops there.
It's so boring. It's so boring. And yeah, I think that there's just so much more that we can share love and find love. And the more we practice that for other people, the more we can find that for ourselves. And I think that that's, ultimately where we want to get to. And I think for me, honestly, that was the most challenging part of my series to write, was how do you unconditionally love yourself? I mean, it's not a how-to. I don't like writing how-tos anyway, because everyone's different. But how do you love yourself unconditionally? I think you have to practice loving others unconditionally. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't really know.
That's another really powerful statement that I'm just gonna
let it sink in, because that's, for me, it feels like it is easier to find my way through love in relationship to others than in relationship to myself, because I don't know, maybe others can relate to the concept of feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough kind of thing.
I just had another friend who talked about this, and like how sometimes when you don't physically feel good, it increases the negative self-talk, and like, oh, no one wants to hear this opinion from me.
Yeah.
And like, that does come up for me a lot, and it hasn't really stopped me in recent times, but hence this podcast.
I love it. It shouldn't stop you.
It does creep in from time to time, and it's definitely something that I think that it's something that we deal with as a human race. Like, everyone deals with that, like, imposter syndrome.
Totally. So yeah, I would say that in learning how to love yourself more, practice loving other people more. And whether that's, your strangers that you meet at Burning Man or at the coffee shop or on the street, and just, I don't know, sending them a little beam of love, or it's reconciling friendships that you're like, okay, well, you think something different than me, but I'm going to let that be okay. Maybe it is like I was saying in the first part of my unconditional love post, was talking about exes. And I feel like that's a place where our society is very much cut and dry, black and white,
Ghost them.
You're with someone, and then when you're not, they're automatically an asshole and you should hate them forever. And it's like, but you loved that person for however long you did, and like unless they actively did something to like hurt you physically or emotionally, or I don't know, crashed your car or killed your mom, I don't know, like
Kicked your dog,
something like really horrible, then like you probably broke up because of, you know, a mutual understanding, most likely.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then like you loved them yesterday. What changed between yesterday and today? And I think that that's a very hot take and unpopular opinion, for a lot of reasons. And I think that can be a good place to practice, you know, because it's something that society even tells us not to do.
Yeah, it's so true. And, you know, I thought about this and a conversation that we had prior to starting to record. I like when I have broken up with somebody, I make them disappear. Like I block them,
Oh yeah, we did just talk about this.
delete all their pictures. It's like they never existed.
Wow.
But like they do. They do.
And all of the things that you did.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I talk about it on the last podcast, there was somebody I met when I was 15 and we were together until I was like 21. And for a long time I like wanted to make him disappear. But you still have love for that person, and like we were together for so long, and like now we're friends, and that's a different journey. But yeah, it's hard to do.
Yeah. I just had a little thought pop in.
Yeah, share.
Those people changed your life.
Yes.
Just like my best friend of 16 years, just like the D-bag who sent me a series of shitty text messages. Those people changed my life. And whether it is, you know, friend one or friend two who gave me these amazing experiences, maybe opened my eyes up to a beach I never would have found, or a food I never would have known about, you know, any of those things. Or sometimes I'll hear a song or see a show and be like, oh, I wish I could send that to so and so. Those people changed my life. So did my exes. And can we, even if it's not, oh, I still love this person in this romantic way, can you love
them
that
as
as a person?
Yeah, hell yeah.
For showing you that book, opening your eyes to this, talking about this thing, showing you that whatever, here's this thing about you. Because between 15 and 21, you were growing a lot. And that person, for pro or for con, had a lot to do with that and changed the shape of who you are. And can we find gratitude for that? At least, even if we don't call it love, can we find gratitude? And I think that so deeply. I've got one ex that we were together for like 6 months, like stupid short. It was all long distance. We've spent probably a cumulative 2 weeks in each other's physical presence, right? Changed my fucking life, the trajectory of my life. And I think about it all the time when I'm reading this book, when I'm having this thought, when I'm with my husband, that being me, having changed into me with that other ex, made me suited for my husband. So it's
I love that. I love that take.
And it's so real. Like I can look at that and be like, I literally wouldn't be this person that Ryan fell in love with if it wasn't for this person.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And we see that for all the things, you know, for me, that one is super tangible, because that was a 6-month period of time where like I changed a lot, and he really opened my eyes to a lot of things that were in this realm that Dr. Ryan lives in. But can we see that for not just our exes, but our pals, past, present, future? You know, these people are changing us. That's how we change, is in relationship.
I think something that you said that I want to highlight is that if you might not be able to meet them with unconditional love, gratitude.
Yeah.
And I think that That is important because even if it triggers something in us, like have gratitude for that because that's shaping and shifting our perspective.
Very much so. And I think that that can be applied anywhere. Like what just popped into my head now, because I'm thinking about like all these different ways that you can like hate someone versus like be okay with someone.
It's easier to hate
It's so
someone.
easier to hate someone. I had this experience kind of in like the mid 2020. One of my aunts wanted to talk to me about everything that was going on. And I said, okay, yes, we talk about it, but like no coercion and no contention. And we just had a conversation. And neither of us were trying to sway the other person. And it was just a conversation. And I think that there could be a type of person who could look at that conversation and be like, what a bitch. And she's trying to do this. And she's trying to tell me that I'm wrong and blah, blah, blah. Or I could just look at it and be like, wow, that was really nice.
It was a tough
It was a tough
conversation
conversation.
that shifted my perspective. Like I'm a Gemini, so I can see the duality in a lot of things. And
Yes.
people are like, oh, you're a flip-flopper. And it's like, no, but I'm just really good at seeing like both sides of the
There's
spectrum
a
in
spectrum.
between and like all the other things. And everyone's like, oh, you change your mind, like you change your underwear. And it's like,
Multiple times a day.
it's like, but yeah, when I learn something new, like, yes, of course, it's going to shift my train of thought or perspective or, whatever it is. And like,
Yes.
let that be okay. Let it be okay that you change your fucking mind.
I love it. I love the way that you use the word spectrum, because that is super important to me too, that I feel like there's so much about our culture and society that is black or white. But what's in between black and white? A bunch of fucking gray. There's dark gray to light gray and all of the grays in between. And
You know what I love?
sometimes
So
I'm this, sometimes I'm that.
I'm gonna bring this back to my fashion days. Black and white are not even colors.
They're not. One is all the colors and one of them is none of the colors. So like, why are we so obsessed with being this or that? And we've been put into these boxes that say, you know, you're this or that. I don't want to like get into all the things, but like it it seems that we are only given these two choices, but we have to know that there's a million choices in between. And it's the same thing with any of this. It's not the choice between, you know, uh, tearing my friend a new asshole when he sends me really mean text messages, or crying my eyes out thinking there's something wrong with me. There's a million things I can do in between. And I've done like 100 of those. and that's okay. And maybe tomorrow I'll try 101. And it doesn't have to be anger. It doesn't have to be hate. And it doesn't have to be love. I'm ideally, it would be great if we could all like choose love all the time, but it is easier said than done. But what about something that's gray and love like gratitude?
I love that.
I'm all about that gray space.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I live there.
Same. Wear a lot of black, but
So, what is one takeaway? Like, if people are listening, like, what would be one takeaway that you would want them to walk away with?
ooh,
A hard one, because this is an episode chock full of good stuff.
yes. I'm going to say it again for the third time. Practice makes practicing easier, because I think that a lot of the time, and this is to myself too, we expect to just like be there.
Yes. I think especially people in the spiritual sphere, like we want to just, I said this in my last podcast, like we just want to sit and meditate and manifest and we want it to happen now. And like God's time doesn't work that way.
And you have to practice, because, okay, bringing it back to face yoga, I know about face yoga and I can know all about how to get rid of the lines between my eyebrows. But unless I fucking do it,
you're not going to see the change.
I'm not going to see the change. So the same thing goes with like finding more grace for someone who's hurt you. Today, you might be at a 2 and you might be full of hate and rage. And I hate this person, they're the worst in the world. And tomorrow you might be at an 8. And the next day you might be at a 4. And that's okay, because it's gray and it's a spectrum. And we're always like doing this wavy thing. And that's whether we're talking about our relationships with other people or relationships with ourselves, it's always in flux, always in motion, and always a practice. Just yesterday, I like woke up on the wrong side of the bed or something. I was just like in a shitty mood. And I don't even know why. I was just in a place all day
That
long.
Sagittarius fire coming in hot.
It just happens, you know? And like I could look at that and be like, oh, everything I've done over the last 6 months is just wasted because I'm in a bad mood today and I can't get myself out. Or I can just give myself the grace being in a bad mood today. Okay, maybe it's hormones, maybe it's the planets, maybe it's that jerk on the street, whatever. And then today I can wake up and choose something different or not. And that's okay. Give yourself the grace, give other people the grace, give the world the grace. I don't know. Keep on practicing being a better version of you. That's what I would say.
Love that.
Practice, practice.
What are your offerings and where can people find you?
Ooh, girl.
I know you got a lot of them.
Yes. So I teach yoga. I do have an online membership platform with my husband, Dr. Ryan. That is at patreon.com/be_easy. And those are not
And
just
everything
letters.
will be in the show notes.
Yes.
So you can find all the stuff there.
Super easy. And then I teach face yoga that I do, like you were talking about those 4-week reboots. So I do those online. So those will be coming up. I'm thinking probably in January so that we're not like too crazy with the holidays.
Yeah.
But I do also have an online membership for face yoga. That's patreon.com/beeasy_face yoga. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Cat Loves Sunshine. That's cat with a K.
Cat with a K.
Dots in between, Cat Loves Sunshine. And my husband and I have this space called Be Easy, and our handle is at Be Easy Now. Also dots in between. I don't know how much that matters on Instagram. Be.easy.now. It's a mouthful. Yeah. And I make oils, rollers, and sprays. That's a fun thing to do. Make for people. Gifts coming up, holidays, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, my favorite one is the booby blend.
Oh, yes, the booby blend. Got some good oils for your boobies. And then it's just kind of nice to just like
self-massage.
Roll some stuff on your boobies.
Yeah. And like we have so many, like just talking about women and like, I mean, I guess men too. Like we have so many lymph node chains around the breast area. And for women especially, like we chain up our breasts and like really compress that area. So like a little self-massage at night with some oils. It's like,
I love
that. It's a vibe.
Okay, so we're gonna have to do one of our podcasts. You're
coming back,
is gonna be about boobs.
Yeah, so excited.
Yes. Talk about small boobs, braless babes, topless Tuesdays, the booby blend.
Titties out Tuesdays.
Titties out. Saying the word titties is really fun. We're gonna talk about tits and how much tits are great.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. This is so fun.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
You're the best.
Thank you for listening. If you are watching on YouTube, please like this episode, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share, do all the good things, give us 5 stars. It really makes a difference. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next week.